Mr. President, let me again thank you for taking your time to see us. We are very happy to be able to hear some of your views of the situation in Syria, in the region, as such. If you could just begin by briefly trying to explain the Syria of today compared to the Syria that you took over in 2000 when you became president. How would you describe your country today?
We live in the middle of very complicated area, so part of this comparison should be directly linked to the difference in the region, not inside Syria, because we're not isolated from our surrounding. We are surrounded by the Middle East process that has failed for the last 19 years on our southern border. Lebanon, sectarian country, is always, or maybe from time to time, on the brink of civil war on our western border. And Iraq, everybody knows about its situation on our eastern border. And the terrorism is prevailing in the region, and we are part of this region. So the big difference is these issues that reflected on our country. But
when you say that terrorism is prevailing, why do you think it is?
Because of desperation, and this word is a wide term. It has so many reasons: political, economic, educational, cultural. So it's complex. But in brief, it's desperation. It's related to the situation here and to the politics that affects our region that's coming from abroad, especially the great powers in this world, whether in Europe, the United States, United Nations, other countries.
Could you elaborate a little on that? Why are they creating desperation?
When you lose hope, you are desperate. When you lose hope in any better situation, you have a cause, you have occupied land, you don't get it back after decades. You have rights, you don't have these rights after decades. You want to have better situation economically because of the political circumstances and because of maybe our practice sometimes. I wouldn't blame everything on abroad, but mainly because when you talk about occupations, war, whatever you do to improve the situation in different aspects, you will have limit. In economy, you won't have investment from abroad because you have war. It's not peace, it's dangerous. Nobody will come and bring money. Even investors from the region, they will take their money abroad. That's one of the reasons. Intellectual, educational, it's about the schools. How can you afford school to everybody? How can you support the creativity and entrepreneurship, which is about analyzing, open-minding people? How can you make those people being in contact with other cultures to understand these cultures more and to get the benefit and to learn from other culture? If you don't have this interaction, you'll have isolation, which is in contradiction with the means that we have today. We have the internet, we have the satellite, we have satellites and TVs. We have every means to make more contact. But if you look at the situation today in this region, it's much worse in the world in general, not only in this region. We have less contacts and less understanding than 30 years ago, which is one generation ago. So all this creates desperation.
I think a lot of people from abroad will say that we are coming here, or the outside world will be coming here to try and help you. I don't know how you define help in this regard, but by creating more democracy, we had the whole Iraq war. What you're saying is that the interference from outside is creating desperation and terrorism.
Yeah, before you give me the mean, you have to discuss with me the goal. And democracy is not a goal, it's a mean. That's the big difference. That there's a misunderstanding in the West. Democracy is not the goal. You don't work to reach democracy. You use democracy to reach the prosperity. And this is the misunderstanding. So you don't help me by telling me about democracy. This first. If you want to give me the means, let's say that we agreed about the goal, you talk to me about the mean that's suitable for me. You don't implement on me the mean. So that's the difference. That's why this help, by definition, is dictation. It's not help. So this is the definition.
If we could just return to Syria for a while, would you say that Syria is a democracy?
I would say Syria is moving toward democracy. But to reach that goal, it's a long way, and I could say very frankly, without any hesitation, that we're still at the very beginning of the road, and it's going to be a long road.
And why is that?
Why is that? Because we had our circumstances where we were under occupation for decades. We got our independence in the 40s, mid-40s. Then we had coup d'etat, from coup d'etat to coup d'etat. When we start establishing our state in the 70s, it's one generation. And any major reform, it takes at least 3 generations. So it's about the time, first of all. Second, about the circumstances. Third, any reform should take its time. It's not related to the speed. You don't have speed meter to say this is fast, this is slow. It's about doing the best or the most that you can with the minimum side effects. The most important thing in that reform that you need to have a national dialogue. It's not about the government, it's not about the president, it's not something you believe in, you have to make it. You read it, but you don't make it. The society should make this reform. When you talk about the society, especially in ideological region, we have history of thousands of years, we have many ideologies and habits. It's not easy to say, that was wrong, we have to go this way. It takes a long time to make the shift.
But if you could, tomorrow, have democracy in Syria, would that be a goal for you? Is that something that you aim at?
Not goal, it's a mean, again. The goal is prosperity, but we have to have the democracy to reach that goal. We have to have it, but our democracy, not Western democracy. The problem with the West is that they only look at one style of democracy. Democracy is related to the traditions, to the circumstances, to the habits and ideologies. You cannot
But one thing definitely, I think, if you talk about democracy, is for different types of society, different political ideas to come forward. Syria does not, as far as I can see it, seem not to have a large prosperity of different political views, or certainly there are some political views that are not accepted.
First of all, we are one of the richest societies in the region because we have the most variety of ethnicities, religions, and sects inside those religions, more than any other one in this region and in Europe, I think, and one of the richest in the world, although Syria is a very small country. You cannot have a stable country with this variety without having normal democracy, natural democracy. So this is not realistic, what you describe. What's realistic? Politically, we are moving forward, as I said, and it takes time. I didn't say, you just asked me, and I didn't say that we are democratic. I didn't define Syria as democratic, but the society it is. Otherwise, you will have civil war in Syria. Why didn't we have this conflict that other countries in the region, in this region, that have less variety,